So I got a couple more slides I'll show, and me and Rachel will just offer some commentary about what you see on the screen. The first one I want to show is the Jesus statue, and let me adjust this one second. And the reason why I want to show the Jesus statue first is because I think sometimes when you do mission work and you leave the country, you make assumptions that maybe God's love is not there or God's activity is not already there. But it's clear to me every year that we go that the Lord is already present. The love of God is already present. What we're doing when we go there, we're just participating in the good work already being done. So we're not bringing anything new in particular. It's a lot of receiving, but also a lot of giving. It's a relationship. So I just want to make sure I showed that. And Mark takes us there just about every year though to remind us about the role that the Lord and the Spirit and Jesus plays in that country. It's a beautiful country. Any thoughts about the Jesus statue or
Um,
Jesus?
yeah, so that statue was built and it overlooks the entire capital city of Honduras. So from almost any major area, you can see the Jesus statue. And it is also a good reminder that this isn't a country that is lacking in faith
Mhm,
or belief in God. That's a very present thing there. The statue obviously is not something that everyone in the country goes up to see, but it does have a park and a picnic area and a bunch of stuff they've added. Um, to it, but it is cool that from pretty much anywhere in the capital city, you can see it from almost every angle, and so it is a good reminder that, a physical reminder that he is fully present,
mhm.
there just as he is here in the at home in the States.
It's a challenging place to be at night because all the lights attract all the bugs. So you're gonna have a couple bugs on you before you leave. So this is the group that went with us. There's about maybe 10 or 12 people missing because the Louisiana, which is a new group that came with us, they were not they left earlier, which was there's a lot of new faces this year, which was really cool to see. And I just want to read off, if you're a numbers person, you might enjoy this, about some of the things that we did. Lori posted this on Facebook, so I'm going to read through what she said. The 11 days that we were there, God allowed us to build 14 homes in 6 different communities, provide school supplies to 300 children at 2 public schools, give 600 bags of food to families experiencing chronic food insecurity, make a visit to the city dump, providing lunch and clean water to the people working in the dump, fed the unhoused in downtown Tegucigalpa. Visited, did I say that right?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you. She speaks Spanish, so she knows. Visited children's home to help with some painting and provide a fun day of games and crafts with the children, while also providing a special lunch for the children and staff. Hosted a spa day at Mi Esperanza, providing valuable practice to hours for those that are cosmetology students. And lastly, hosted an epic pizza party and game day for the children in Mola Loa. Rachel and Callie hosted that. So those are some of the cool things we got to do for the week. I think it was one of our best trips for me. For me, I mean, this is my third one. I just thought it was really good. We worked together really well. There was no injuries. It was really hot. The first couple of days was really hot. I ran out of sunscreen on day 3. I only brought 1 can because I used 1 can before, but my neck was burned, so it was yeah. I wanna walk us through a day, but do you have any thoughts on this? What we
Yeah,
did before I walk us through
it
a day?
was a super it was a super great trip. It was not a huge group, but also not the smallest. I think it was honestly kind of the perfect size for what we were hoping to accomplish. We focused a lot this year on building. Some years it spread out over multiple different activities, but Mark had found multiple communities where there was families that were just in dire need of safe shelter. Most of them had children, young children. So the group was great, because that meant that there wasn't too many people on one build site because that can get a little chaotic
Mhm.
with chainsaws and people on roofs and all that
Yeah.
stuff. So I think it was a great mix of folks, kind of from all different stages of life. We had young kids, older individuals as well, a lot of middle-aged. There wasn't quite as many guys this year, so that was interesting, because we're picking up 4x4 posts that are often have not dried, so they're really heavy.
Mhm.
But everybody stepped up, and I did. Really enjoyed it, and I loved seeing all the new faces that have never been before. That was really a good thing.
And those some of those girls can be stronger than men, so yeah, that's really impressive. I remember the first year I went, I was so embarrassed because, I never did carpentry work. I don't think I've ever really swung a hammer like that. So just to see all these girls younger than me, I mean, my toxic masculinity was coming out, right? Um, Swinging a hammer and they're ahead of me. So that was really embarrassing. So that's when I started doing weight training and I've gotten better every year. That swing.
Yeah, on point.
Yeah. So I want to walk you through just what a typical day look like for us. We wake up at 7, around not 7. We got breakfast at 7. Breakfast, beautiful. I love Honduran breakfast. We do a Duvo, and we have work assignments for the day. Like she said, most of the days we're building homes, but there's also opportunities where you might go to an orphanage or for the dump. So we're building a home just about every day we work, but there's other opportunities to do other things. So after we have our work assignments in our Devo, we load up supplies. We head to our build site. We build for about 4 or 5 hours. It takes about 4 or 5 hours to build a home like that. Then we take the bus back to our compound where we unload supplies, drink coffee and shower, eat dinner, and then there's a Devo and lights out. So that's like a typical day. And we had about 8 work days throughout the week. 2 of those days were travel days, and on Sundays we don't work. We go to church, and we went to what's that place called?
Valley of
Valley of
Angels.
the
It's
Angels.
like, a Gatlinburg of Honduras, a bit
Hmm.
of a tourist trap, if you
Yeah,
will. Lots of souvenir shops and
mhm.
coffee shops, and we ate lunch there. And then that was also wasn't that the day we went to Mia Speranza? No, that was a different day.
Yeah, it was a different day.
Just
Yeah.
kidding.
Mhm.
But yeah,
Some
Valley of
days,
Angels
sometimes so.
is there are locals that go there, but
Mhm.
every mission group that hits Honduran soil typically ends up there at some point.
Yeah.
So, but it's a cool place.
Mhm. We saw a couple groups there too while we're other groups doing other building. So, some highlights, I wanna talk about. This is one of our I think this was probably our most difficult home. This is the last day, so just save the best for last. So, you see that mud there? That's not your typical mud. That mud was so thick. As I was walking, your legs get heavier and heavier as your shoes get caked with mud. So I was walking, and you have to be careful when you're walking because you move your leg up too strongly, and you might dislocate your hip. That's how strong that mud was, and that almost happened to me a couple of times. So I'm just, oh well, I don't want to do that. People got shoes lost in the mud, and so that was a very challenging. And imagine trying to dig in that mud trying to we have to dig because we have to get into the ground to make sure the 4x4s can be placed there. So it was a challenging build, but I think it was also a very fulfilling build. Any thoughts on that build?
Yeah, that was a doozy. I will say I actually was down for the count that day for the first time ever. I had a little stomach sickness in Honduras, so I was just really a spectator from the dry front porch of the neighbor's house.
Mm.
But watching it, I will say that that's some of the wildest mud I've ever seen, and there was no getting around it because it was the entire plot, and it hadn't even when we got there, it hadn't rained yet
Yeah.
that day. It had rained the night before, um, but it was already in pretty bad shape. People were sliding. But one thing that really stuck out to me that I thought was really cool, a couple of things from this site. Number one, when it was the mom of the man who was going to live in that home with his family. She lived next door when they were standing there watching our group build and seeing everyone's shoes coming off and whatever,
Mhm.
they left and started walking around to all of the neighbors' house because that's a big farming community. So there's, a lot of, I think oh yeah, so you could see on the right hand side, that's right in front of where we were building. So everybody out there farms. So the family was walking to the neighbor's house, gathering up like rubber, like muck boots that they use out in the fields to bring and let all the Americans borrow,
Mhm.
so that their shoes wouldn't get muddy or they would stay on. So
Uh-huh.
I thought that was pretty cool for them to be, thinking about that. And the community came together. I think they showed up
Uh-huh.
with a total of 6 or 8 pairs. Um, so that was pretty cool. And then the other thing, um, it was a young family that was gonna live there, a man, his wife, and 2 young children. They were currently renting, somewhere down in the city, so they're paying monthly. to stay somewhere that they don't own, and they've had this land but haven't had the resources to be able to fund, purchasing the supplies to build something on their own land. So this was getting them back next to grandma, who was very excited about the grandbabies being next door. And that money now they can put towards food, clean water, educating those kids when they become school age. So that was cool. And they went out and bought fried rice for
Yeah.
everyone at the build for lunchtime, so that was also pretty special, because again, money is tight, and they kind of felt, that was their way to say thank you, was to serve everyone
Yeah.
lunch. And it did actually rain
Yeah.
as we were about what
Really hard.
s-
The
like
the hardest I've ever seen.
yeah, like you could barely see that field in
Yep.
front of the house for how hard it was raining, and
Mhm.
then we had to finish it. So that was
Yeah.
it was a
With more
challenging one.
mud.
Yep,
Yeah.
with more. So it was good.
Yep.
It was a good one.
Yeah. More about that communal aspect that's one of the things that I receive whenever I go to Honduras. I see their emphasis on community, and I think you see this in other impoverished areas too. But I mean, to see neighbors come and help you build the home, like, that we saw that multiple times, and to see people bring you food. We are kinda spoiled when it comes to building at the site, 'cause I remember I've heard stories. She Rachel's been going for 7 years, so she knows about how it used to be, but when we're building, there are people that bring us some chicken, so we eat while we're there. There's water, there's Gatorade. The mayor of one of the cities, I guess, brought us some pupusas. Delicious.
Like a
So
cheese-filled pancake.
yeah.
Delicious.
So we're the community really I could tell they really appreciate, us being there, and they join us in what we're doing there, which is always a cool thing to see. Last funny story I have is this is just a random picture. This is not a picture I took. But we're after that build site, it was a long day, right? Got mud on your shoes. Um, so one of our 3 of our kids are not here on that are our teens that went, and Matt was one of those teens. So Matt was on the roof, and I guess he had some type of cramp in his leg that just wouldn't go away. But that's the same leg that he had like, torn ACL with, so yeah, different complications with that leg. So, of course, he drank a lot of water. So we're in traffic. He taps me on the shoulder like, "Hey, I gotta go to the restroom." So we're in downtown 5 o'clock traffic, and we gotta find a restroom. So me and him get out of the bus and try to beat the bus so that we don't get left. We go to a chicken place, no restroom. Still looking, the bus gets ready to pass us. They're yelling at us at the bus, outside of the bus. So we find a grocery store. He goes and gets back on. We almost got left, but that was just a funny thing to what do you do? Right? He just taps me on the shoulder. I gotta use the restroom. Okay. So that's one of the funny stories that I had. Any other stories before we're wrapping this up?
I think one thing that I've thought about a lot while we were there and have still thought about quite regularly since we've been home is um, just the amount when we showed the Jesus statue, and I was saying, that it's not a country or a community, an area that lacks in faith or knowledge of God or that type of thing. And I think that's something that even 27 years of going, some things I guess now I'm a little more I would prefer not to say used to seeing, because you don't ever want to be accustomed to seeing that type of poverty and
Mhm.
suffering, but is the faith that the people there have. And when I say faith, I will speak for myself, not for all of you, but I know it's a faith that I probably will never experience or really get to that level of faith in my life. There was a couple of days when we were delivering food, um, where some of the teens said, we went to a lady's house and, yelled from her gate, and she came out and we told her we had a bag of food, and she burst into tears because she said, "Last night I fed my children the last food we had, and I have no money at all." And so before I went to bed, I said, "Okay, God, this is it.
Mm,
We've exhausted everything. We have no more food, but we're trusting that you're gonna make a way, you will provide, you always have, and you won't fail us now." And she said, "And here you are, showing up at my door with the bag of food
mm.
that will feed my family on average, maybe a week, depending on the size of the
Uh-huh.
family." And I just keep thinking about at what point in my life have I really ever had to rely on God to that extent? I pray and say, let me know, should I take this job offering or
Mm,
help me get this promotion or, help us get our house sold or whatever.
yeah.
Those are all things, but that doesn't determine whether or not I live another day, right? It might make things more convenient or better
Mm,
in my head, but not literally surviving. And that is a daily thing there where people are praying, God, help us, through this rainstorm. Our house is on the side of a cliff. It could go at any minute. Food, clean water. So that always just resonates so heavily with me. I mean, you go and you see the differences, right? In lifestyles and these houses we build, they're 16 by 16 wood house, one window, one door, a metal roof. We're now fancy and we add a gutter with a tube coming down in a barrel so they can catch the water, which sounds like not a big deal, but that water is what they use for drinking, bathing, cooking, cleaning, all the things. So for us, I mean, it's what we store our lawnmowers in, probably. I mean, that would be the equivalent of what we could compare it to here. When we get done and we invite everybody in to bless that house, you would think we just gave these people the Taj Mahal. I mean, like, best thing ever, and it is, it changes everything for their future. So, but the fact that these people, even the house builds, there was, one lady, it was I don't remember which day it was towards the end, and she said, "I've been praying for over 10
mm,
years
yeah.
for a home that we could own," that she had 5 kids. Um there was a man there, we don't know if what the relation was, but he was gonna be living there as well, but she said, "For 10 years, I've prayed and said, God, please just help me find a way to be able to provide them a home that's ours, that's safe," and all that stuff, and she said, "And I've watched groups come in, and I've watched other homes be built, but today God saw me. He heard my prayers and he answered." And come to find out her birthday was 2 days later. And she said, so he felt like this was the year, maybe this was the birthday present. So just faith like that is something that even in 27 years, I still can't really wrap my head around,
Yeah.
but it puts into perspective. We always say we're so fortunate we have so much in excess, and we do.
Mm,
But it really puts in perspective when we think we have a strong faith. And I'm not denying that we do, but it's a different level of faith that I don't think I will ever have in my life because of the circumstances, and because of where I was born and the things that we have available to
yeah.
us here that so much of the world, doesn't have at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Mark calls it, is it the zip code lottery or location lottery?
Yeah, the birthplace lottery
Birthplace
is what
lottery.
Mark constantly says. You shouldn't go home and feel bad about what you have. We won the birthplace lottery. It's where we ended up. But just because you go back to all that doesn't mean you can't use it differently now or see how you can use what you have to really serve and bless others, because you've seen what the rest of the world lives
Yeah.
like.
Yeah. Another thought I had, I mean, I gotta look into this and maybe you can share some about this, but I wonder if there's a loneliness epidemic there. We have a loneliness epidemic in our country because of how disconnected we can be at times. And I don't know if we prioritize people as much as maybe people in impoverished areas, because people are your resources when you're in impoverished areas. So people are important. Relationships are important. And I know that that's something that I've noticed about our country. There's a loneliness epidemic, and there's not as much emphasis on.
I'll say no. I'll answer that real fast, that's not a thing in Honduras.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. Um, they, again, like you were speaking on community, um, you know, neighbors and family, they live together. Here, when we hit 18, we're going to college. We ain't never coming
See ya,
back.
mom.
I
See
mean,
ya, dad.
those kids stay. And when their parents get older, they move back in to take care of them. So it is different in the sense that it is very, very community minded, family oriented. And it's not to say that they don't have what we have. I mean, with my first years, you didn't see people with cell phones. Everybody got a cell phone now, even on the side of the mountain, because if you're trying to work, if you're trying to get jobs, even if they're day jobs, right? You got to have a way to communicate with the people that you're trying to get. So they have those. So it's not like they don't, but you don't see the kids sitting on the soccer fields down there looking at their phones. It does not happen. Very rarely do you see them doing anything other than calling or texting mom or, someone. So I don't think loneliness is really a big thing there because community is such a priority and relationships because they use those to survive, to rely on one another for the basic necessities a lot of times.
Well, Rachel, thank you for your
Yeah.
thoughts. Oh, yeah. That's an important part.
Um, yeah, so we went a couple of times. I think they did 2 different trips. They're still offering their cosmetology program. It's great. The girls are doing wonderful. Jenny's place is beautiful and it's just wonderful. Mimi's did a dedication there a couple of years ago when we went. And Sarah's it's just beautiful. There's a lot of new faces in there. The girls are learning a lot. They still have the jewelry making, um, and they have an online website. If you're not familiar, they ship to the U.S. But just doing a lot of great things. The daycare is fully open and functional now, so the ladies that are coming to train and take classes there have free childcare available because that's often the main barrier to for them to be able to get a job or to learn a new skill set. So that's up and running, and those of you who have been or have heard lots of talk to Daniela, which is Jonathan's wife, she now runs the child care center at Mi Esperanza. So that's providing her and some other ladies employment, caring for the children of the women who are there learning skills. So um, that is a huge piece. Lori started and still, runs today. But yeah, it's growing. Lots of young girls starting out there now. Some of them have the ladies that train there have now moved into permanent positions and are teaching sewing classes, jewelry making classes. So now they have employment. So a lot of huge success stories continue to be born out of Mi Esperanza for sure.
And those are familiar with Mi Esperanza.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yep.
it was um, founded by Lori and Janet Hines, who started going early on the first year, 27 years ago. And they realized that the need of the women in that country was so great. So many of them were single moms, didn't have resources. Um, and after a bunch of research, they determined that when the finances of a family are placed into a woman's hands, those things are spent on clean water, education, food, shelter, and Lori would be really mad at me for not y'all don't tell her I don't remember the 5th thing.
Healthcare.
Healthcare,
Yep.
boom, there you go. And so they are kind of the key to breaking that cycle of poverty. So they started this organization, Mi Esperanza. It started as a microloan program and a lady would come and say, I want to start a tortilla making business or a pulperia, which is like a local convenience store in a neighborhood minus the gas. And they would loan them the money, help them create a business plan, and then they would start this business and grow it. And then over time would pay back that loan. So they had a couple of those that were very successful. And then they realized it needed to be more than that. They needed, because a lot of these ladies didn't have skills. So you couldn't just give them money and expect them to run a business. So they started a sewing program, a cosmetology school, a jewelry making school. At one point, they offered pinata classes. Now there's a computer program, an English program. And so they go through these programs, and it's free of charge. They apply, and then based on the space they have available, will be we'll join a class, and then again they'll have free health care. But they get paid. Anyone that works at Mi Esperanza gets paid fair living wages. They are free to move about. A lot of these countries have where unfortunately a lot of us buy our goods, our clothing and home decor are made in sweatshops where these people work 18 hours a day with one 20-minute break and that's it. And if you don't follow that, then you're fired. So Mi Esperanza is focused on empowering women in a healthy, safe, supportive work environment, training them with skills that then they can go out and use to support their families. And like I said, the online store they have is all stuff made by their women, sewing, jewelry making, and the proceeds go back into supporting and running the Mi Esperanza education programs and the skill training. And those ladies have put their kids through private bilingual schools, 4-year universities, law school with the money they've made either working at Mi Esperanza or from training they got from Mi Esperanza. So it is truly breaking the cycle of poverty in those communities and changing the future, of those families.
So, Rachel, I really don't even know how to ask you this. Yeah, it's a little bit off topic of what we're talking about as far as it's a different type of ministry,
Mhm,
but I'm sure you remember this like yesterday, 10, 15 years
mhm.
ago, that you talked about the communal aspect when you do a bill, the people gathering.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Really, I mean, appreciate it.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it seemed like there were always a special group who just somehow fell in love with what Mark and Lori do.
Mhm.
I remember there's this one young lady that could out.
That would be Oneida.
But it seemed like there was some special people that
They are.
Mark and Lori kind of took in
Yep.
Yeah.
because their love for ministry.
Yep.
Mhm.
They are still there.
Taking a mentorship.
Mm.
Yep.
Are they?
Mhm.
So it's funny, we were talking this year about it's wild to look now because those kids,
Was the young man?
that was Melvin, that's Oneida's younger brother. Their whole family, Lori, we all met them, I think our first or second year there, and their mom had died within 6 months of breast cancer. And the oldest brother, wasn't living there. Well, there's a whole lot of them. The oldest brother that we ever interacted with was not living there anymore. The next to oldest was a drug addict, so he wasn't doing a whole lot. And the next one kind of stepped up as the dad of the family. They were all very young, but to watch now where they are is wild. Just like Jonathan and Daniela. Jonathan's one of the boys too. He's now married, has a daughter. He runs a graphic design company. He prints all of our
Yeah.
group shirts that we get when we go on the trip. His wife runs the daycare at Mi Esperanza. Oneida actually was there and worked with us this year, was great because we haven't done that a whole lot the past few years. She's been coming to the US on a work visa, working at 5-star, 4-diamond resorts as a chef. She has a nursing degree from Honduras, but it's just a piece of paper in the US. But she's come here and it's allowed her to make a great living. Melvin is here in the US, as well as Yanni, which is so those are both brothers of Oneida's. And Melvin and Oneida have come up with a long term goal and plan. They're currently working. They've sent back funds. She's expanded her house and put up a big security wall around it. She lives in Moaloa, which is the community we work in fairly frequently. So there's a bunch of success stories, but they are not there anymore. The work was becoming, I mean, Oneida is, but the work is becoming harder and harder to come by because when we think of the cost of living here right now, people think, well, it's got to be cheaper there. It's a third world country. Their gas is more expensive than Birmingham's gas because we were constantly doing math to see they're paying more per gallon in gas, so therefore all their food and everything is more expensive as well. And they were struggling to find work. So a lot of those individuals that we saw and were with us all the time when they were young, there are still some there that are working, but a lot of them have left in hopes of finding other opportunities. Spain has become a very common place because they can go without a visa there. So they go there and work for a few years, make money, send it back home, and then everyone's story is different. Some come back home, some try and get their family to Spain. So, but they're still there. Everyone's fighting. But all those kids that we met that used to build with us and the ones that still do, um, it's amazing. I mean, they are kind of the testament to what this type of work does. You know what I'm saying? As far as relationships and the people that have encouraged them along the way. Yeah. Hmm.
Found it, and I think it's awesome.
to go and make a donation.
Mm.
Yep. Mia Speranza has a website. You can make just a donation, even if you're not buying. If you wanna, because when you buy, granted, they'll take all the support they can get, they still gotta ship, so there's cost involved with
Uh-huh.
buying as well, right? But if you wanna make a single one-time donation, you can do that through their website, um, and they also do a monthly program, and then you get regular updates about the classes that are graduating or new things that they're working on, and I think it's like 19 a month, right? Okay. 19 a month that you do, which, I mean, let's be honest, that's a couple of cups of Starbucks. So, um, but yeah, they are, and that is again what is changing not just one person's life, but generational change is what Mi Esperanza is doing. So, a donation of any size would be huge for them because they are, it's tight. It's really tight for them right now running that type of operation and trying to, you know, support that many families and futures. And just like everything, money is tight right now. Things are expensive. So I know Lori would greatly appreciate that.
Yeah. And I'll put all this up together in the email and I'll send it out so you'll have the link and anything else that you might need to participate in that. Well, I have the date for next year. If you want to mark this on your calendar, if you're interested in possibly joining us next year, this is same dates. And my last thing is just to close us with a prayer. So let's pray together. Father, we thank you for your love and the many ways you are working throughout the world. We trust that your will is the healing and restoration of all creation. And we are grateful for the opportunities we have, both near and far, to participate in your healing work. We ask special blessings over the country of Honduras, especially those our group was able to serve. We thank you for the homes that were built, the resources that were shared, and the opportunity to both give and receive. We thank you for what Honduras has taught us about community, the importance of taking care of one another, and trusting you to grant us daily bread. We thank you that through Christ we have received the bread of life, and it is through Christ that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yeah. Thank you.